I feel like this is my first opportunity to reflect back on what happened after coming out of hospital in January 2016. If you haven't seen my video about when I got sectioned, I recommend you go and watch it before seeing this. I know at the end of 2016 I started psychotherapy with a very good therapist who I stayed with for 3 years. The therapist I had before him, I feel, did me more harm than good. I won't name him, so I should be able to talk about him. I shall call him James for this story. I started therapy with James when I was 14 or 15. He lived around 45 minutes drive from me, near Oxford. James was a very traditional therapist, as in Freudian, as in some sessions I would lie on a couch with him behind me taking notes. When I split up with my girlfriend, he would get me to go over what happened in detail, and I would finish the sessions feeling pretty atrocious. He told me that I wouldn't have had a breakdown if I didn't stop therapy with him, and when I brought up the subject of stopping, he wouldn't welcome the idea. He would hardly say a word, and there were some sessions where I would get angry and throw a cushion at him. He was useless and would forget what I had said in previous sessions. It was so hopeless. He even used this classic stereotypical phrase, "How does that make you feel?" Angry. Okay, good. I've had a vent about my bad therapist. When I came out of hospital in January 2016, my family threw a belated Christmas celebration for me. I still had the side of my head shaved, but it had started to grow back, so it really didn't look good. My dad said I looked like someone who had had brain surgery, that my head needed to be partially shaved to operate. I managed to get a really good haircut in a prestige hairdressers named Tony and Guy. Shortly after, I got a photo taken for my passport, and I still have that photo today. The best haircut I have ever had. I just realised I said that it sounded like I was sarcastic then, but it was a good haircut. Right. I must have returned to college at the end of January, 2 or 3 weeks after leaving hospital. I felt very awkward being in college. My social skills felt like they had gone down the drain. I was anxious and thinking that people were judging me. It felt like my class would all talk with each other so well, and it frustrated me that I wasn't normal. For my birthday at the beginning of February, they got me a cake and all my classmates signed a card. This was just something they would do for anyone's birthday, and it didn't make me feel all that special. Don't get me wrong, I am glad they did it. It's funny. During my last days in college, I assumed that people were told what had happened to me, but they didn't know that I'd been sectioned, just that I'd had a breakdown, because that was pretty clear from my time in college. I told my story to a couple of them possibly, but I wasn't all that close to many of them. Looking back on those days in college feels surreal. I haven't talked about those times with my friends or family since they happened, which makes it harder to write about than the time I got sectioned. Anxious Tom feels like a different person. Now that this pandemic has happened, I worry that I won't be able to meet up with friends when it's over. I worry that I'll be like I was in 2016. But I hope that's not the case, because I have come so far. Due to my month missing in my college education, I realised I needed to drop out of my music course. I did carry on with my Maths GCSE, however. I had failed the qualification the previous year. I had a brilliant maths teacher, and I am pleased to say that I passed the second time round. It was a wonderful feeling reading the result that summer. Coming out of hospital, I stayed on medication and had to see a psychiatrist regularly. I found her to be quite peculiar. She didn't seem very regular, but my views on doctors was rather warped because of what had happened to me. I remember the feeling of coming out of hospital and how wonderful that felt. To be alone in my room after being around psychiatric people for 3 weeks felt quite bizarre, I must say. I had missed Shadow, and I would cry in hospital thinking about my little dog. I was so very pleased to see him again. Now that's all I've written. Why am I ending it like this? Because now we're ad-libbing. There isn't I don't know what there is to say about that time. That's all I can say. It was an odd time. I was very socially anxious, and I can remember that feeling, like I've just written, and I want to explore that now more, of just seeing people and just feeling so awful. And if someone, I'd hope that people wouldn't talk to me, because if the conversation then turned to me, I felt so anxious about what I wanted to say, and I would meet up with a friend regularly, I think, at that time, who I'd known since preschool. I had a occupational therapist at that time, and she helped me, well, get back into the world after being sectioned. And she told me that I should plan on things to say in conversations, but I realise now that just gives more anxiety. But I would worry about conversations. I would think, what am I going to say? What if we run out of things to say? It's going to be so awkward. And I would just, I'd worry so much about socialising. And I'm glad I don't have that today, but I am still pretty shy when I meet new people, but I don't know. I have good days and bad days, I think. Thank you for Thank you for listening to my video, watching it. Yeah, I want to make some more videos about the continuing saga of Tom MT's mental health. Yeah, boy. That wasn't me crying, that was me laughing. Although I could cry.